Good morning, and it's another glorious day here in Dorset. Those who've been following me for a while will maybe have recognised that I've just come across the ferry at Sandbanks, so I'm now at Shell Bay at South Haven Point. And last time we came, I headed down that way, albeit I went through the sand dunes, and that video is already up on, that was a January one, that video is already up on my stream on my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link up the top so that you can have a look at that one as well. But we're back there today. I've just come across the ferry again. It is actually the 1st of February today, so this is my first February video, and it's another glorious day. Such a beautiful morning. It wasn't meant to be. The forecast said it was going to be cloudy today, but it's not. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'm looking forward to another good day's walking. It's different this time though. We are not going to go along the beach here. We are going to go across the other side, the Poole Harbour side, and we're going to take in a little bit of quirky Dorset. Some of it's quirky, some of the unusual, something, you know, interesting, off the beaten track, hopefully a little bit. So I hope you'll join me. I will put up a map at this point. Actually can't tell you which way we're going, simply because I don't know. I'm kind of following my nose a little bit today, because there's various routes I can take, but I will put up a map over this so that you can see the route I'm taking. So hopefully you'll come along with me. It should be a really good day, especially if this weather holds out all day, and I'm looking forward to this one. I hope you are too. So I'll catch up with you in a minute. Is a lot of chain. That's a old ferry chain. It's obviously been replaced. So if you fancy a bit, you can buy some. So yes, last time we came across the ferry, I headed along the main Shell Bay beach, Studland Beach. This time I'm coming the other side of the peninsula, from South Haven Point, and I am heading harbour side, Poole Harbour side. How far I get will depend on the tide, which I think is quite a long way in, but we shall see. But we almost immediately meet the first quirky thing about this walk. Watch this space. So this is Poole Harbour, which is one of the largest natural harbours in the world, with 100 miles of coastline, believe it or not. But its average depth of the water is only a couple of feet. I've forgotten exactly what it is, a couple of feet, with some deep water channels for cross-channel ferries and so on to come in. Across the way there you can see Bramblebush Island, which is the main island of the harbour, with Bramblebush Castle. I don't know if that'll come out on the video, but Bramblebush Castle is over there, and that's all National Trust owned. But The quirky thing about this is what's round here. This is actually Bramblebush Bay. Now, in the previous video I explained that the ferry is actually called Bramble-Bush Bay, Sandbanks Ferry, but it's named after this bay, which is Bramble-Bush Bay, the real Bramble-Bush Bay, and it's famed for its houseboats. And this one, believe it or not, is a houseboat. May not look much like a boat, but it is. And there are a number of these. There's actually 3 at the moment. These are what would be classed as permanent houseboats. Come back in the summer and there'll be several others that are temporary houseboats that moor here for the summer period. So this is another one which kind of leans at a crazy angle, as you may well have noticed in the video. The interesting thing is that it is no longer a boat because it doesn't float. These two are both concreted to the floor of the sea. You notice it more when the tide is out, of course. The tide's in at the moment, so you can't see that. And they look for all the world like they're derelict. There's another one further round which we're walking towards. That one, I think, is actually still floating. But these are the permanent ones that stay here year round and have done for many, many years. And they always intrigued me. I couldn't really understand these at all, simply because they don't float. They're just concreted to the floor of the sea. The reason for that, I understand, is because under the terms of the mooring agreement, the boats can be moored there permanently, but if the boat becomes derelict or whatever, or is removed, then you lose, or the owner will lose, that permanent mooring and will have to rearrange a new mooring, which will be a temporary mooring, which is what happens with the other boats. They moor here. You can see the floating buoys out there where they anchor, but they are only temporary moorings. So when these boats became gradually derelict, what they did was to embed them in concrete so they can't become any more derelict, so they can remain there with their permanent moorings rather than replace them with new boats and have to negotiate a new mooring agreement. So that's what I understand happened here, and that's why those boats are kind of weird. They're boats, but they're not boats, because for me, a boat floats. And those two back there don't float, and they don't move. Now they lean at a crazy angle, but I understand that inside the decks have actually been levelled. So although the boat itself is leaning at a 30-degree angle or whatever it is, I gather the deck inside has been levelled, so you can still go in it and the people can still use it and stay in there without leaning at a silly angle. So this is quirky to me. Bramblebush Bay with 3 permanent houseboats, at least 2 of which I'm not even sure that one's floating. If the tide were out I could probably tell, but it doesn't look like it's floating. So when is a boat not a boat? When it's in Bramblebush Bay and it's a houseboat that's concreted to the floor. So there you go, quirky Dorset. Love it. I love this place. Great at sunset. But we're walking around the harbour shoreline. As you can see, the tide's in, so it might be a bit tricky in places. Second interesting feature is at the end of Bramblebush Bay is this contraption, which is, well, all accounts say that it is the usual anti-tank dragon's teeth, I think they called them, anti-tank barrier. And that's what all the accounts say. I have a kind of theory, because they're flat topped. Anti-tank ones are usually got a slopey top. I don't know. I kind of wondered at one point whether these were in fact part of a jetty, but I've never seen anything to suggest that anywhere, and everywhere suggests that they are just an anti-tank barrier stretching out to sea, as there's a few of these, but equally there are a few jetties as well, and we'll come across one of those a little later on. But we're going to carry on along the way we're going. That's the way back. You can see the houseboats in the distance, ferry beyond that, you can even still hear the ferry. But we're going to carry on along here. It could get tricky because, as you can see, the tide is well in, so I will probably wind up having to go up onto the heathland here to get round. So, as expected, I have been forced to go inland a little bit. I prefer to follow the shoreline because it's a nice place to walk. Not that it makes a lot of difference, because to be honest, the heathland is only just inside shore, so we're not far away. Mind you, even inshore it's boggy. Right, getting back out onto the shoreline again. We're going to just follow the coast round. And one thing about Poole Harbour as well is that it's a haven for wildlife. Lots of waders in the harbour. Just seen oyster catchers. In fact, there's some over there on the shingle beach across the bay there. Just seen one fly past. And this is a peaceful place. You see the beach the other side where we were in the last video is a popular beach. This, for obvious reasons, is less popular. Simply it's, especially when the tide's in, as I say, it's more difficult to walk and beach space is limited, so but I really like that. That's what it's more wildlife based, let's put it that way, more wildlife based than people based, and obviously that's the way I like it. Can I say that on the video? Is that allowed? It's not that I've got anything against people at all. I just love being in amongst nature and in the wild, and it's just so lovely. And of course the heathland itself is also heavy with wildlife as well. It's a big nature reserve, and famed probably for the Dartford warbler maybe. This part of Dorset was in a sense a rescuer of the UK population of Dartford warblers when they became almost extinct through some really harsh winters. We were down to a handful of pairs, and thanks to these heathland areas with its gorse bushes and so on, they have kind of regrouped and grown, and numbers are well up again now. It's a lovely bird. I suppose the sensible thing would have been to check the tides before I followed this route, but that's far too sensible. That's not adventurous, is it? So anyway, I've rejoined the coast again. Let's see if we can get through here. If not, we will diver, scramble up until the top of the heath again. This is another nice bit to walk, nice soft beach and a lonely beach as well. At the moment I have it to myself, although I do see someone in the distance. I should say incidentally that not only the Dartford warbler that these heathlands are known for, they also have every species of British reptile as well. There's another oyster catcher going. So lizards and slow worms and a wader. Can't get close enough with this camera, unfortunately, to the birds. But yeah, so it's a good area for wildlife. So I did say about the dragon's teeth and my theory about whether at some point they were used as a jetty. The reason for that is that over on Brownsea Island, which you can see across here, it's the island over there, there used to be a pottery industry. Unfortunately, the quality of the clay wasn't good enough, so it failed, but it did operate, made earthenware pipes and things like that, I think, for a time. And they used to export them by boat across to jetties, and there was one here. This is Red Horn Quay, and there used to be a jetty here. There's nothing left of it, but this is where they used to bring the boats across with the pottery, which is partly why I wonder if that other dragon's teeth maybe were used. I don't know, I've never seen anything about that, but if anybody's watching this video who has any thoughts on that or knows, everything tells me that it's not, and it was they're just dragon's teeth. But just my theory. Mysterious Dorset, I like a mystery, so I'll create a mystery myself. And there's another mystery here which I'm about to reach. So the mystery is here, and it may be a wreck, but it still has its uses as a bike prop. So this is the wreck of Red Horn Quay. There's very little left of it now. It used to be a lot more. I'll try and put up a photograph that I took some years ago. There are various theories about what it is and why it was here. It's another one of those mysteries that I like to unravel. Some say it's a converted lifeboat. At the end of World War II, there was a complete dearth of loads of lifeboats basically going spare that had finished their useful life, and people were able to buy them and convert them for other uses. So it's thought that that's what this was. How it got here is a bit of a mystery. It either just washed up, that's one of the theories, it just got washed up, or another theory is that it was bought by a consortium of local guys who wanted to turn it into like a fishing club, and they, despite all their efforts, they were unable to make it watertight and usable. So I think the story is they gave up and just left it here. Nobody really knows. It's one of those mysteries that time and history doesn't reveal the truth. But it was. We do know it's a lifeboat from a battleship, and apparently we know also that it's a lead lifeboat, because digging down into the sand revealed that there is in fact a prop shaft which shows it had an engine, and lead lifeboats had engines, because apparently what they used to do is the lead lifeboat would tow other lifeboats behind, so we know it's one with an engine, so it's a lead lifeboat. So that's one of the mysteries, and obviously the quay itself is a bit of a mystery as well, because it's no longer there, but it was here. So that's Redhorn Quay. It used to bring pottery, or used to bring pottery to the mainland from Brownsea Island across the bay. So it's another bit of interesting story about Poole Harbour. So just thinking about Brownsea Island has reminded me of a story. When I was a kid, the island was owned by Mary Bonham Christie. She bought the island, I think, in the 1920s, and she was a very mysterious, reclusive lady who kind of virtually stayed on the island, I think. And there were stories when I was a kid, the stories were always going around that there was a secret tunnel running from Brownsea Island and coming up somewhere in Poole, and that she used to come through the tunnel secretly rather than be kind of obvious about coming across. Schoolboy stuff, and we loved it, of course. So when Mary Bonham Christie died, the family wanted to sell the island, and there were various schemes suggested. I think there was a possibility of building hundreds of expensive houses on it, schemes like that, but the local community, I think led by Helen Brotherton, I believe, campaigned to save the island, and eventually money was raised and it was taken over by the National Trust, jointly managed with the Dorset Wildlife Trust. And back then I went across there as a child. I went across there in the early days of it being open to the public, before anything much was done to it, and I saw what was left of the pottery works, a small village called Maryland. I say a village, a row of cottages, I think, actually, which was called Maryland, which is where the quarry workers and the pottery workers used to live. And yeah, there was quite a lot of old stuff. I think it's all been kind of cleaned up now, but amongst other things, it's a stronghold of the red squirrel now. So we got red squirrel colony over there, and also, what else have we got? Avocets. I believe avocets are over there as well. Obviously waders in the bay that was created. So yeah, it's a good story, especially the secret tunnel, and it was all down to the fact that schoolboys love that sort of thing, and probably the fact that she was such a mysterious lady, I think. So that's where it came from. Anyway, story from my past. One of the more modern things about Poole Harbour, I guess, is that there are oil wells here across the way. Probably won't come out, but over here, that's Redhorn Peninsula, and oil is drilled and comes out of that. The wells over there. In fact, we had a spill last year or the year before. There was a big oil spill came from it, and there was a big outcry about that, because it was in danger of messing up wildlife in the harbour. This part of the walk, incidentally, gets more difficult as we go along, because it becomes quite boggy here, especially at this time of the year with the tide in. Anyways, this is easier in the summer. Lovely sounds of wetland birds. They obviously saw me coming. My Merlin bird app tells me that we've got oyster catchers, widgeons and teal mainly around here at the moment. It's a nice sound. So I've left the harbour shoreline now, and I'm currently heading off across open heathland for, this will be a couple of miles probably on open heathland. Eventually I'm going to drop down to Studland and then walk back along the beach. And it is such a lovely day today. I haven't got a coat on and I am really warm. It's partly because there's actually no wind, the sun is bright, and it's just a mild day. It could be spring, to be honest. It's really lovely. We've now reached almost the most southerly point of this walk today, and also coming up for the highest point as well, and the next bit of quirky Dorset, which is just over the hill in front of me, and it's something that's always fascinated me. Is across the other side of this valley. It is the Agglestone. We'll be there in just a moment. And the stone stands high on its hill, surrounded by heathland, peatland, which is flat. Well, pretty flat anyway. So Agglestone is incongruous. And it has some mystery to it. But I will tell you all about that in just a moment. So Agglestone is a 500-ton block of ferruginous sandstone that stands on Black Heath. Its mystery is the fact that it is totally out of keeping with the surrounding land, hence its mystery. Now, how did it get here in the middle of flat heathland, which has nothing in common with this? Well, I can tell you, it was thrown here. It was actually thrown here by the devil himself. He was actually aiming for Corfe Castle, so his aim was a bit rubbish because Corfe Castle is several miles away, and basically he missed and it landed in the middle of Black Heath. That's the truth of it. So did you believe my story? Nah, of course not. It's not the truth. Even the devil can't carry this weight. Actually, there's a couple of theories as to how it became in this spot. The main one, I think, is that it's a deposit from a glacier. I think that's the most likely one. There is another one that suggests that there was more of this rock around, but that the rest of it has got mined away and this bit's got left. I don't know. I don't think that's right. I think almost certainly it's from a glacier that just deposited it here from somewhere else. But it is a huge chunk of rock. It's actually changed. There used to be like an anvil shape. I don't know if I can put a picture up in the video. I might try that. Of it when it used to be upright. So what we're looking at here would have been a flat top at one time, but it is one huge chunk of rock. So we'll do a 360-degree tour of Agglestone. I have climbed up there, incidentally. When I was younger, I went up to right up to the top. It's fairly grippy. A bit older and wiser now, so don't know if I'd attempt it, to be honest. And it's not worth it anyway. You can't see anything different up the top than what you can at the bottom. But people do use it for climbing. Practice. One or two bits broken away, as you can see. Bit of erosion, bit of man-made erosion as well. And there's a way up. I have been up here. Some steps that you can climb up part way. So that's Agglestone. Amazing thing, amazing place, just that air of mystery about it. And for me, I will never forget the first time I saw Agglestone. I was young, I was walking my dog across the heath and it was virtually dark. And I came over here and this massive rock loomed in front of me in what was the very little light that was left. And yeah, it was just amazing. This, especially when I was young, it was just huge. And yeah, I'll never forget that. It's left a legacy, so it's one of my places from my past that I remember well. But this is the view we get. All over Poole Harbour, obviously, over there. The ferry is down there. And then Bournemouth coast is along there. And obviously we've got all the heathland in front of us. Amazing place. And this is the star of the show for now. Time for a late lunch, I think. Who knows what the time is, but it is well late for lunch. that is Agglestone. What I love about this place is it's full of theories and mystery, and I like that. The theory of how it got here, which may or may not be Ice Age activity. The theory about why it's on its hilltop. And the theory with that is that it's the very presence of Agglestone on the top that's prevented the hill from eroding away when the rest of the surrounding land has eroded away. The theory about why it's the shape it is, and that is partly that it's been sand blasted, because it's a sandy hill. It's been sand blasted by the wind and therefore has got undercut, which is why it fell in the first place. So I kind of love the fact that it's all mystery, it's all theory and not fact. And I don't need everything to be explained, and I don't need everything to be fact and calculated. I love the fact that this is mysterious. It's a giant block of stone that's somewhere where it shouldn't be, and it just gives it a whole different kudos to me than if it was all explained away. And I like that. And I think that's one of the things I think is that the so often theories become fact simply over time, really. I mean, even if you think about the theory of evolution, I mean, it is a theory. The clue is in the name, the theory of evolution. So, but you'd think that's probably fact, really, the way it's taught and everything else. So, I don't know. Let's keep the mystery. I like it. And I'll tell you the biggest mystery for me is who was it brought the scales up here to weigh it, to know that it weighed 500 tons. That's the biggest mystery to me. Anybody answer that one? Anyway, we need to bid farewell to the Agglestone and head off across our peatland heath to join Studland Beach. Well, there's the Agglestone, stood out right against the sun. Amazing. So this has been a very unexpected day. The weather to start with, I thought it was going to be cloudy. In fact, it's meant to be cloudy today completely. So where this clear blue sky came from, I'm not quite sure. So that was a real bonus. But the other thing was, on top of that, I saved myself £15. I was a bit late getting out today, so I decided I would just bite the bullet and park in the road near the Sandbanks Ferry. I usually don't do that on principle because it's crazily expensive. Nearly £15. I think it's £14.70 to park there in the road. So I don't normally do that, but I thought, oh, today I'll just do it because I was a bit late getting out, running out a little bit of time. Thought I'd do it, and when I got there I discovered that in the winter it's free. So I saved myself £15 there. So I'm quite pleased with that. That makes a good day. This is another little bit of interest in our walk. May not look much, a little bit of brick wall. It's actually the remains of a mill that used to be here, which is long since gone. Not much left of it now. Just woodlands. So you may wonder why I say I don't park by the ferry on principle. I think it's because I just think it's wrong. All my life parking in the road by the ferry was free, and that's where I used to park. And suddenly somebody obviously has twigged a few years ago this could be a money-making thing for us, and suddenly loads of parking meters appear all over the Sandbanks Peninsula, introduced I think by the borough, and charging exorbitant fees to park there. £15, £14.70 for long enough to do a walk. And it's a very popular place. People park there, they go across the ferry and walk along the beach, as I do, and it just seems wrong somehow. Hence I, on principle, refuse to pay it. I would rather park in a road where it's free, even if it means adding 3 or 4 miles to my walk, to be truthful, and that's what I usually do.
Eddie.
So I've actually nearly reached Studland Beach, which is why I said we were going to join and make our way back along Studland Beach. But I actually changed my mind. I've turned off slightly early, just before the beach. The beach is over to the right, across the heathland, and this is like a inland, slightly inland route for a change, which takes you through some lovely woodlands and across some heathland and dunes, and we will pass Little Sea in the middle of Studland Heath, which is a peninsula obviously, which is surrounded on 3 sides by water, seawater. In the middle is what is a large lake, which is known as Little Sea, freshwater lake. I thought it might be quite nice to have a little walk along there and have a look at that. And it's a bit wet by the looks. Well, you read about it sometimes. Some wartime ammunition discovered in the dunes, which is usually safely detonated and destroyed. I've actually found a string of bullets before, although they were blanks, I believe, from exercises, military exercises that were taking place, rather than live rounds from the war. So it's safely taken away by the police, and I reported it. Interesting what you find when you're out walking. The sun is gradually going down. And this is Little Sea. Definitely not so little in my book. So the path along here actually skirts along the east edge of Little Sea, and it's yeah, it's a nice path. There's probably less people along this part than on Studland Beach proper, which is off to the right, but we will join that in a minute. We will finish up with a nice bit of walk along Studland Beach, Shell Bay, and back to the ferry. But this is rather nice in the late sun. Well, that was a very pleasant detour to explore. Said in my previous video, it's my kind of catchphrase. The way I walk is I often detour. Today's been one big detour really, because I kind of set out with a rough idea, but I quite like to just walk and just decide on a whim which path to take. And I've actually done that even in a new area. Just take a map, paper map, because I prefer that, it's nice, and just walk and decide on the hop which paths you're going to take, and kind of create a walk on the hoof, as it were. It's a name for a book, isn't it? Is there a book called that? You make the path by walking or something, I believe. Anyway, yes, it makes a pleasant and interesting change. But at the very least, when I go out, I invariably detour a few times to find interesting things, something to photograph, something to film, just an interesting quirky thing that amuses me or intrigues me. And this has been one of those in some ways. Lovely little walk by the sea, Little Sea. It was incidentally at one time a tidal inlet, and it kind of got landlocked eventually and turned into a big lake, and a lovely one it is. There's a bird hide there as well on the other side, because obviously you get waders and things on it. Anyway, so we're now heading back. We'll be across the dunes in a minute to reach Studland Beach again. That's a good job I wasn't intending to go that way anyway then, because I'm heading across here. So we're in the sand dunes again, on the edge of Studland Beach. Well, I've just learned something new. Apparently these sand dunes are unusual. They are extensive, and apparently it's unusual to have sand dunes like this on an east facing beach. And I never realised that. Been walking it all my life and I never knew that. Fascinating, just goes to show you're never too old to learn something new. But we're going to head down onto that beach and head back towards the ferry. Lost the sun here now, almost anyway. But it's gradually going down. But it's a lovely still evening, and we've got the sound of surf and waves to serenade us as we walk. Doesn't get much better, does it? Lovely sky, lovely sunset. Oh, a lovely peaceful evening. Absolutely beautiful. The ferry in the distance. Isn't that lovely? The ferry down there. We're nearly back. And there's still an awesome sky over this side. Just look at that. I said earlier when we came through here, this is Bramble-Bush Bay again, where we started. I think I said earlier that it was a great place for sunset. And so, although I was heading for the ferry, I've done another one of my detours to explore and to capture this sunset over Bramblebush Bay with the houseboats. Isn't that epic? Well, that is an epic way to end what has been an absolutely epic day. I feel so blessed to have been able, that I'm still able to come out and walk these distances. It'll be another 9 miles, I think today, 9 or 10 miles, time I get back to the car, to be able to still walk these distances with arthritis in my ankles. And especially today, when it was supposed to be cloudy and miserable. Instead of that, I had a day of sunshine and spring warmth and a blazing sunset to end it with. Isn't that awesome? So this brings our day to an end. What an awesome day. I've absolutely loved it today. It's been phenomenal. And this just is the icing on the cake. So it's time for me to sign off and to say thanks so much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed it. And for now, this is me, the Dorset Rambler, saying until next time. And I can't wait till next time.